how's it going, everybody? I'm Jordan, and this is my story.
That's right. So let's start back at the beginning. Early days, childhood, growing up. What was that like? What role did faith play?
My upbringing was pretty good. I think you could say I had a pretty solid network, a good family. We went to church, holiday services, things like that, but I don't know that we were heavily involved outside of that. My parents ended up divorcing when I was 5, early age, and I just remember what I learned in Bible school and kind of thinking like, well, if God is in our lives, then why did this happen?
Yep.
Right? Why did this take place? Why am I in a position now to where I feel like possibly I made this take place? Like, is it my fault?
So from that led you kind of away from God and down another path.
Yeah, so I probably should have pulled towards God in moments of pain, but rather than that, I blocked him off. Drugs and addiction were a big part of my life pretty early on. 12 to 13, I started dabbling in things. 14 to 15, it got worse. At 15, 16, 17, when I was 17, I started getting incarcerated. And always knowing that it wasn't the path that I was meant to be on, right? But there was just something missing. There was a void there, and it just took me down this path that I couldn't, left to my own devices, get out of,
Yep. So not only in and out of jail, but even experienced homelessness.
Yeah. The drugs, man, they took me to a place where I never thought I'd be. I mean, I literally lived downtown in a tent under the old Bankhead Bridge, across from, like, a little bit north from the Georgia Dome.
Wow. So all of that, you're just trying to fill something. What was the turning point?
After going to some rehab facilities, trying to get my life together, I didn't succeed the first time. It took many attempts. But I started going to some AA meetings, and I remember walking into the meetings and seeing people who had been through what I had been through, like, have this glimmer of hope, if you will, in their eyes, right? And when I asked them, what they were doing, how they got to where they got to feel the way they were feeling, they said with a spiritual connection with a God, something greater than them. And that was the only thing that had the ability to get them out of their own way. Left up to their own devices, they just continued to go to jail. Some people died, never got out. But with this power greater than them and something giving them help and leading them, they were finally able to get past the barricade that had been holding them back, and their lives had started to flourish, So I figured if I gave that even half the effort that I gave to running the streets and doing all that, I'd probably be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me once, like, that it was in that room that you found a different version of God than the one you'd grown up with.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, so I guess my idea of God early on was like this perfection God, right? This arm's length God, if you will, like we had talked about, and the God that I saw in these rooms, he was a loving God, a caring God, a forgiving God, a God that walked with you. An open door kind of God, not like a closed off, like, hey, you didn't go to church, you didn't pray. No, try again next week. He was there with you through the good, the bad, and the ugly. My life really turned around for the better, and I think a lot of peace and a lot of that void that I didn't have and I couldn't fill, has been filled.
Through that, like, personal connection.
I was missing something, right? Couldn't figure out what I was missing. I tried to fill it with a bunch of things. And I can sit here and tell you that, like, I still question things, I still have doubts, but I can't explain my story, and I can't explain what I've been through without God in my story.
You told me that what you found is that childlike faith.
Right.
Like that that trust, that doing the simple things, obeying God with those little steps of loving your neighbor.
Yeah.
Trusting him, you know what I mean? Like being generous, being kind, and following his example. And it's, in your words, you were telling me, it's like literally changed your life.
Yeah, it has. And keeping it, keep it as simple as I possibly can has been huge for me. the spiritual side of it can be deepened, the faith side of it can be deepened, that would be preferable for me, because I believe, but I also, when I read certain things, I can't help but question. And it's not lack of belief or lack of faith, because like I said, without God, I can't tell my story. To look at it from the perspective I look at it now, the whole cycle and story of what I've been through, it's just unreal.
I've loved getting to know you, getting to hear your story, and it's just a reminder, I think, for me, for all of us, that our stories look different, but we've all got a story, and our stories are impacted when our story collides with God's story.
Yeah. And that's I think one reason why I really wanted to do this is like, I want people to understand that, like, it doesn't necessarily matter how you got here or how bad it was before. But like, if you're going through something, or you're embarrassed, or you don't want to share what you've been through that's got you to these doors, be glad that they got you here. And that somebody has been through what you're going through. There's somebody out there who's been through it. So don't feel alone. Don't shut yourself off. Give yourself the chance to come in here, meet some people, and change your life, because that's what I had to do. I mean, there was a point where I didn't believe anybody. I thought everybody was lying to me.
But now you're able to say, whatever your story, God wants to be a part of it, and God wants to be involved, and he wants to invite you in to play a part in his story.